Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. Appreciate everybody. Welcome. Really appreciate folks for attending. Folks may continue to join, so you might hear the blings coming on. But so just welcome. This is the citizen participation meeting. Citizen participation meeting for the development of 1146 South Maple site. We also call it Hickory Way Apartments Phase 3 at times. It is on the west side of town of Ann Arbor, just north of Pauline on South Maple. We are proposing a new construction development. Oh, hang on, let me share my screen here. Sorry about that. My technical difficulties. Okay. All right. Yeah, sorry. So we're proposing a new construction, affordable and supportive housing development at this site, 1146 South Maple in Ann Arbor. And it's the little dot you can see on there. I am Wendy Carty-Saxon, the Director of Real Estate Development here at Avalon Housing. We've got a number of other folks as well, from Avalon in particular, that I can introduce that are on the call. I can see everybody. So we've got Tara Tarbach, Avalon's Director of Property Management. Molly Smith, our Director of Services. Bree Carpenter, our Director of Employee Experience. Joel Barson is here with me here in the office. He's Avalon's Asset and Compliance Manager, is working behind the scenes to assist with our tech. I also saw Scott Parker and Grayson, and I think there may be some other folks as well. And then shortly we'll have the development team introductions a little bit longer to go beyond the Avalon team. So I want to get to the purpose of the meeting, and I'm sorry, I'm going to try to, I'm having trouble making this.
If you click slideshow, that might do it.
Thank you. Yep, there we go.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Move this down. All right. So yeah, the purpose of the meeting, our agenda. We want to give you a bit of an introduction to Avalon Housing. Want to introduce the development team members, introduce the development site, including previous developments that we have nearby, our Hickory Way 1 and 2. Provide some project program information, the number of units, affordability, amenities, etc. Touch a little bit on city zoning and entitlements, describe the project schedule, and give you a chance to ask questions about the project, get your thoughts and feedback and Q&A at the end. Wanted quickly at first to go over a bit of housekeeping. So wanted you, if you can, so yeah, please sign in. You should have gotten something at the beginning and at the end, or you can put it in the chat, and including Avalon staff, like I said, it's helpful for, and the development team, just have a list of everybody that's here. We will be preparing a write-up of the meeting, so when you give us your email, we can make sure you get a copy of that write-up and the presentation. The meeting is being recorded. It should have said when you jumped on. So if anyone would like a copy of the recording, you can certainly let us know. If you could please remain muted, and we'll be keeping an eye out and muting folks if needed to minimize any background noise. If you have questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. We'll monitor them, take a look, and can address them during the Q&A. And if you can't put it in the chat, you can also just ask them during the Q&A. If there's anything we don't get to, obviously feel free to follow up. And the last slide has my information you can send it to. If you run into technical difficulties sometime during this call, you can either try putting it in the chat, or if that's your difficulty, you can also text or email or call Joel at 734-545-2632. 734-545-2632. And the other thing that I wanted as a closed captioning, it looks like everyone has to do it on their own. So if you want closed captioning, there's a, you should have something along your menu that says CC or closed captioning, and you can enable transcripts on that. Again, if that's not working, you can let us know and we can be helpful. And I think on the recording that goes out, we'll have all that information. Right, quickly, some ground rules. Our aim is just to create a safe space where all can feel free to offer their questions. Please be respectful in the chat. You know, it's going to the entire group, and again, will be recorded. Please manage your time and allow space for folks, you know, step up, step back for everybody to contribute. And yeah, and if you do want to raise your hand rather than be on the chat, just, you know, we'll all be mindful to not be talking while others are talking. Please be thoughtful about your wording choices. Try to avoid language that could be seen as stigmatizing. And there are many of us here in that same room. And then, yeah, if it gets a little awkward, we might end up muting. And this is like Avalon's second time facilitating one of these. So hopefully you'll have patience with us, and especially by early technical difficulties. All right. So I want to start by giving a little bit of background on Avalon Housing. Here's our staff. So we started back in '92. We have been building and developing properties in Washtenaw County. We have 388 units, 29 properties. 27 of our properties are located within the city of Ann Arbor. We've completed 5 other new construction developments to date, 4 of which are in Ann Arbor. And we have 3 more new construction developments currently in the pipeline, kind of on a schedule ahead of this. 1 is under construction and the other 2 are anticipated to close yet this summer. We also partner with private landlords and provide services throughout Washtenaw County. And we have very close partnership with the Ann Arbor Housing Commission, providing services to many tenants within their development. So overall, we serve around 800 people, including about 200 kids. All right, and now if Molly wants to jump in and just talk a little bit about Avalon's mission and the types of supports we offer, and then as well as who we end up housing. I'll see if I have to take her off of mute. I think I took her off and then put her back on by mistake.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay,
Molly.
sorry about that. Okay, so just following what Wendy shared, you know, we follow a evidence-based model known as housing first. So we prioritize moving people directly into housing. We recognize housing as a basic human right and also as the foundation to stabilization. So our services paired with affordable permanent housing are really beginning before a tenant even moves in. We provide pre-tenancy supports to really help people gather documents, get prepared to enter housing. And then once in housing, we are really helping people to address unmet needs, identify, you know, areas of skill building, basic household management, financial literacy, and addressing other and resolving issues that may impact housing stability going forward and also quality of life. So we're doing a lot of what would be considered general social work services, case management, care coordination, helping individuals get connected with services that they may not either have been able to access due to not being housed or just an inability to access services in the community. So that might look like primary care, mental health services, substance use treatment. Additionally, because we're serving both individuals and families, we're also supporting family systems and working with the schools, doing a lot of community building to really engage tenants in their community and really support both that individual property as well as the community surrounding our property. Let's see. So we are, as I mentioned, serving both individuals and families. Our target population for PSH tends to be our most in need community members for our supportive housing units. So that may look like individuals or families who are struggling with a lot of unmet behavioral health needs, chronic medical conditions, and are below the poverty limit with very limited to often no income. So our services are voluntary, but very individualized to meet just a wide spectrum of needs. I don't know, is there more that you'd want me to touch on there, Wendy?
I think that's good. Thank you, Molly.
Yeah, happy to answer any questions too.
Right, and I think I'm actually going to then turn it over to Brandon Hodges, sorry, who's our development consultant on this. He's been working, he works with Tribe Development and Avalon's contracting with him to help him on this development process. So Brandon, do you want to take it away?
Sure thing. Thanks, Wendy, and good evening, everybody, and Avalon team and nearby residents. My name is Brandon Hodges, as Wendy mentioned. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm Brandon Hodges, principal of Tribe Development. We are a Detroit headquartered development and consulting firm. So I've had really great luck landing with the Avalon team and working on this engagement. It's been a really best in class experience. With any development project, it takes a village really to get these things across the finish line and bring them to fruition. And so this is just a snapshot of really the team that we've put together thus far to really help execute the project. And so you probably have never seen a lot of the, at least terms on the page, but there's a lot of people that have to come together to make these projects real. And so obviously Avalon is a sponsor and developer on the project. We also have a really stellar architecture team, Fusco, Schaefer, and Pappas, who is on the call, and I'll let them introduce themselves in a moment. We will be going out for a general contractor in the coming weeks to months, and that'll be run through an RFP process. And so we typically run these RFP processes to really identify a wide set of available vendors to kind of come into the project. Civil engineering services will be provided by Macon Engineering. Kathy's also on the call. I'll let her speak to her experience in a second. Our environmental consultant is ASTI Environmental. We also have a wetland consultant, ECT. Property management services will be provided by Avalon Housing. And then again, I'm Brandon Hodges. And we do have a couple of our key team members on the call tonight. And I would like to have them share a little bit about their experience. We really wanted to, bring together folks who had a deep roster of experience in affordable housing and specifically supportive housing. And so our architect, Fusco Schaefer Pappas, we affectionately call FSP, is also on the call tonight. So I'll let Scott and Vanessa maybe introduce themselves and their firm.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you? Okay. First off, I'd like to thank Wendy and thank the Avalon Housing team and Brandon for letting FSP be a part of this process. We are really excited about providing more affordable, supportive housing projects within the region. That's definitely our core mission at FSP aligns with Avalon Housing in terms of being able to provide more supportive housing projects throughout Southeast Michigan to the public. So I think this is, a great avenue, a great, mechanism to be able to provide housing throughout the communities and the counties of Southeast Michigan. FSP is a firm that has been around for over 50 years, providing supportive and affordable housing for decades in terms of our work kind of portfolio. We've worked extensively through Wayne and Oakland and Washtenaw County, providing housing projects throughout for different nonprofit organizations throughout the different communities. We're really excited about this project. We think it's going to be a great venture for Avalon Housing and to add to their increased portfolio for supportive housing.
And I'm Vanessa Cruz, also from Fusco, Schaefer, and Pappas. I'm the project designer for Hickory 3. It's been exciting to work on this development. Brandon and Wendy and the whole Avalon team has been very easy and to work with and understanding and very cordial. I'm excited to just design a building that gives the function that everybody needs in permanent supportive housing and low income housing. I've been working with Misha Housing for over 20 years, so I'm familiar with their standards that do provide the needs that the public should be able to live by. That is their right to have universal designs in their living and through common areas and function in the building. So it's been exciting, and I think what we've come up with should look great in Ann Arbor, and I think the residents would be excited to live there too.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Kathy, are you able to speak a little bit about your experience with civil engineering with Macon?
Sure. I'm Kathy Kyneth with Macon Engineering, and we are the civil engineers for the site. We've done many projects with Avalon Housing over the past several years and lots of projects in Ann Arbor. We're looking forward to working on this site.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And as you guys can probably tell, one of the things that was really important to us in assembling the team is really the deep level of experience with affordable housing and navigating, kind of the MISTA or Michigan State Housing Development Authority, processes, rules, and procedures. The affordable housing space can be very kind of nuanced at times. And so having that state experience and also the experience shepherding through the site plan approval process with Ann Arbor was really critically important. We try to build in efficiency in everything we do and have really good partners who have been able to navigate very complex projects is really important to us. And we can advance to talk a little bit about the site. So, our site is, just over an acre. It's adjacent to South Maple Road. This kind of gives you an aerial perspective. There's an existing home that's on the site currently. We are buying the site, or Avalon's buying the site from City of Ann Arbor. It's currently actually in Scioto Township, though, and so there's a little bit of a process that I'll describe in the next slide. But you can see the adjacency to the existing Hickory Way phase 1 and 2, directly north. And Wendy, I believe that's 70 units of affordable housing, all 1 bedroom. So we're looking forward to kind of adding to the density in the neighborhood, but also doing so in a very thoughtful way. We're super sensitive to just how this building will fit into the scheme of overall daily living, in the surrounding area. And so we're really going to harp on, public spaces, green spaces, and making sure that we integrate the building in the proper way for the surrounding community. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, because the building or the current parcel is in Scioto Township, we will have to go through an annexation process. We're kind of running a parallel path with our site plan approval process. And so we will be seeking a plan unit designation for zoning, so PUD. And this just gives a bit more flexibility than the default zoning code would allow. And so we get a little bit more benefit of density. And we're going to be shepherding that process in tandem with the site plan review or site plan approval process. We also had an initial wetland survey done for the site. And as you can see in kind of there's the yellow boundary of the actual site and kind of an orange hashing around a small unregulated wetland that exists on the site. It's, 0.08 acres. It is unregulated, but that triggers a couple of different considerations across different jurisdictions. And so we've had some really good, introductory conversations with Eagle at the state level. We don't have to go through like an expanded permitting process for this wetland, but we are also working with the city of Ann Arbor to kind of make sure we're, doing everything we can to, either mitigate that condition the right way and making sure that, we're crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. And so on our team, we've hired ECT, which I mentioned earlier, to help us shepherd through some of the processes that come along with that wetland condition. One being mandated because we're taking federal funding. So there's different strings and processes that we'll have to go through to kind of prove our case as to why we're developing on this site and how we intend to kind of mitigate the impact of that wetland. And here's a bit about the meat of the project. And so we're looking at currently 39 units, all one-bedroom units. And so we've had a lot of great conversations with the Avalon team internally just to really understand, across their portfolio, what they felt was the most appropriate kind of unit scheme and mix for the site. And so we landed on one-bedroom units for all of them. And they're going to be up to 60% of area median income. And at least 35% of these units will be designated as those supportive housing units. And so that comes with, a high level of services, a lot of wraparound support for some of the most vulnerable, residents and members of our communities. It's really important that, we focus on design, we focus on, trauma-informed design specifically. There are things that, we as Avalon, I know holds very dear to the way that they develop, the way that they interface with their residents. And we want to, lead with that impact thought and also have that bake its way through the design of the building. So community rooms, we want to have access to laundry on each floor. As I mentioned before, we want to have, really high focus on outdoor communal space so that residents have, the ability to be in their own units, but also, enjoy, that expansive kind of outdoor experience that we have around the site. I did mention the on-site tenant services, which will be available for all tenants on the site. Central air conditioning. We will have high-speed internet. Many of the residents from Hickory 1 and 2 have articulated the need for more bike storage. So we're going to add an increased focus on bike storage as a multimodal transportation opportunity throughout the site. And then we're also very, focused on sustainability. So anywhere we can talk about green and sustainability, there are various kind of green standards that the State Housing Authority wants you to hit. And so we'll be going after one of these standards called National Green Building Standard. And this is the green plus net zero. So one of the primary focuses is really, making best efforts to reduce tenant utility loads, making sure that like the experience for the tenant is actually right-sized economically, but that the building also performs at a very green standard. And I will kick it over to the FSP team to start talking their way through a bit of the site plan, and then we'll go through the floor plans and also present a rendering for the team.
Okay, thank you, Brandon. As you can see here is a kind of, at this point, a conceptual site plan of what, taking all the considerations from Avalon to date on how the building will be designed. We're setting the building close to Maple Road, which will, it will engage Maple Road a little bit more than some buildings that potentially are a little bit further back, but also will allow us to engage at some point with the Hickory Way 1 to be able to have a connection piece to Hickory Way 1. We felt that the building at the front of the property would be the best direction to take. We've also made sure that being cognizant of the land adjacent to us with Hickory Way 1, we wanted to put the building closer to that side, the north side of the property, so the residents from Hickory Way 1 were not looking into a parking lot. So we felt that this arrangement for the building was best. And then we've right now currently are providing 20 parking spaces for the project. And then we also will be developing an outdoor kind of picnic area towards the back of the property, again, engaging a lot of the natural park spaces behind us in the PL zoning, which will be very nice for the residents. And then we're also making sure that eventually the site will be landscaped and kind of following a lot of the requirements that the NGBS wants us to do in terms of native planting species, as well as making sure that we're doing the appropriate irrigation systems and things like that that help us in terms of water usage for the project. Currently, the project is 4 stories. We'll have 39 units. It's roughly about 9,500 square feet per floor. The first floor has less units than the second, third, and fourth floors. Like Brandon had said, they are all 1-bedroom units. Each floor, in the first floor, this is where a lot of our community space areas are. As you can see on the left, the upper right side, you have a community room, along with a kind of a kitchenette area that will be incorporated. Separate meeting spaces that the community will have to be able to use. And then we have, a large kind of lobby space as you enter in off of the vestibule. And you've got some of the support spaces of the offices and reception area in the blue there. The pink shaded areas are roughly the units, the 1-bedroom units, and then all the brown areas in the back are the back of house, which is the mechanical units, electrical, trash disposal, bike storage, and we're trying to figure out ways to even provide more bike storage, because we know that bike storage is very important for the residents. So we're also going to try and make sure that we're able to provide more bikes than what we're showing at the moment. The floors 2 through 4 relatively are the same, 1-bedroom units. Each floor has a laundry and a lounge area. It will have a trash chute for trash collection, as well as a little bit of a storage area as well. Each floor will have a little lounge at the front area, along with the elevator lobby in the front. And then we have 2 stairwells that are able to egress out of the building on each of the floors. Each unit will have its own balcony, private balcony, and the first floors will be more of a screened balcony, but the other floors will have balcony as well. Now here's the first images of the exterior. Trying to take the building maybe in a slightly different direction. We're going more of a kind of contemporary feel for the project. The materials that we plan on using on the site are very they're sustainable, and they fall well within the requirements of what the National Green Building Standard would like to see. We're going to look at using fiber cement panels, some aluminum plank siding, and brick at the first floor. The brick allows us to provide more of a kind of a foundational look for the building. It kind of sets the building down into the ground, and then also because of using a material sustainable such as brick, it lasts a little bit. Its lifespan is very good in terms of at the base of a building. Typically, when you sometimes run into other products at the lower part of a building, sometimes they don't hold up as well. So brick is a nice material to be able to use there. Like I said, each of the units will have balconies, large balconies, to be able to for the residents to be able to have a nice little private space. They look to be probably about 10 feet wide by about 5 feet deep, so 15 square feet roughly. And then, really important in terms of the NGBS and the sustainability is making sure that we provide a good window system that typically meet Energy Star capabilities for our climate zone. And then also making sure that the mechanical systems and the plumbing systems and electrical systems that we use are high efficiency in terms of their load on the building.
That's great. Thanks, Scott. And I have to credit FSP. You know, one of the things that we were talking about initially with the design of the building was how do you create a design that's related to the existing buildings to the north, but feels a bit more distinct, right? And so I think they've done a really great job of even, you know, in some of the colorways and some of the materials, you know, being close enough to the existing buildings and the former buildings, but making this a little bit a uniqueness and character. So this is obviously an iterative process that we'll go through on the design. So you'll see probably many versions of this as it comes to fruition, but this is a really great start from the FSP team.
Thank you.
And it wouldn't be an affordable housing project without talking about the cadre of funding sources that need to come to the table to make it happen. So this is really just a snapshot, and it, you know, kind of speaks to some of the challenge and the nuance of just, you know, affordable housing development in the state of Michigan. We have to leverage, you know, so many different funding resources to pull these projects off. And, you know, the Avalon team is well versed in how to go after those subsidies and resources. But this will be a low-income housing tax credit project. And so it will be competing for 9% tax credits in the upcoming October 2024 round. And so we're kind of working our way through the process to get to the point where we're able to apply for those credits. It is a competitive process. So, you know, we're competing against, you know, other developers from Ann Arbor, Washington County, but throughout the state. And so it's a very lucrative, but very finite resource. We'll also be going after county home funds, Ann Arbor payment in lieu of taxes, which will just reduce tax liability for the property, which actually helps to improve the property operation so that we can support as much debt as we can. We will be pursuing housing vouchers from the Ann Arbor Housing Commission. Many of you probably are familiar with the affordable housing millage that was passed by the city of Ann Arbor. We'll be going after some of those dollars. And there's also a program run through the Federal Home Loan Bank. It's a affordable housing program called AHP. That's also a competitive process that we'll be applying for this summer. And so we should find out probably by, I think November is the timeline that they make announcements if you're awarded those dollars. Some of the initial project costs that we are incurring around design, assessments, legal, you know, bills. We have Avalon's had a longstanding relationship with the Corporation for Supportive Housing, and so they have what they call project initiation loans that are, you know, oftentimes forgivable in nature, but the intent is to really get you over the first kind of threshold of cost and get your project from idea to actually a real deal. And so many of the pre-development expenses that we've been incurring to date will be covered by that project initiation loan. And then as the project advances and should we get, you know, an allocation of tax credits, we'll need to bring in the construction financing. And so we have a ton of relationships we can lean on for that funding source, but that will come at a little bit of a later date once more of the deal is baked and fleshed out. And then the schedule for affordable housing is never quick. And I have to preface that because it is a long process. It's somewhat of you rush to apply and then you stop and you wait to hear if you're awarded. And so this really just casts the full kind of life cycle of an affordable housing deal in this one specifically. And so we are going through site plan approval process right now with the Avalon team and the architecture and engineering teams. That will happen over the course of the next few months in advance of the LIHTC submission. And we actually do get there's a point system that's ascribed to the application process for low-income housing tax credits. And so that actually would get us some favorable scoring if we're able to meet that threshold. As I mentioned, we are submitting for the LIHTC application and submission in October. And then you get to wait a little bit. And so you'll probably hear back, or we'll hear back in hopefully December. That might push to January of 2025 to see if we are awarded credits. And fingers crossed if we are, we will look to, you know, then really get going on like the full drawing set. So we'll have schematics initially and some of the concept work initially, but then we can really take a deep dive into all the building systems and really, you know, get to what we call permit ready drawings. And then at the same time, we'll be, working with all the various funding sources. We will need a tax credit investor. So most of those negotiations will happen during this period until the point that we get to construction commencement. And so that's really the proud moment where some of the work stops and a lot of the work starts. And so we're looking at summer 2025 for that kickoff. And then we're looking at probably, a year and a half construction period, as most projects tend to take in the state of Michigan. And so that would wrap in the spring of 2027. So it's never quick, but it goes by really fast when you're in it. But just wanted to give you guys a sense of kind of how the project will come together over the next few months and years. And I think we're going to open up for questions, Wendy.
Yeah. All right, and folks can either put them in the chat, or if you just want to take yourself off mute and ask. Yeah, we just, presented this. Wanted to give you a sense of what you're thinking, but also wanted to get your feedback to see if, folks had thoughts, suggestions, questions, any of that. And like I mentioned too, if you think of something after, my email's on there. You can also send an email, give a call. But yeah, folks have particular thoughts.
All right.
Bless you. Okay, let me take the presentation view off for a moment. But yeah, folks can, so jump in if you have any questions. And get back.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Is this a done deal?
We are applying for our funding, so we're still making our way through the process. Do you have some particular thoughts?
Well, I've lived here a long time, and some things have happened that have never happened before.
Okay.
The police seem to be regular visitors to the low-cost housing across the street, sitting in the living room initially when it opened, and the gunshots. A whole gun was unloaded. The police were here probably for 5 or 6 hours. A number of people walking through the neighborhood, pushing grocery carts, looking through our recycling. A woman meeting us at the driveway, telling us that she was evicted and she had no money and she was starving. The fact that in the building across the street that there are, and this is surprising to me, 5 registered sex offenders living next to the complex that is loaded with kids. Given the fact that we have an awful lot of affordable housing on this side of town, and in fact across the street, not only affects the property value for the Summit View and Walden Hills condominiums, but could impact the Dickens School. I know you hear this, not in my backyard, and believe me, I'm sympathetic to affordable housing, but it has changed the whole tenure of the neighborhood, I believe. And it's worrisome to me. It's worrisome that that will go in, that a very large apartment complex is going in. I think it does. It changes the tenure of this neighborhood, greatly affects the property value here, and to some extent will definitely change what happens at Dickens School. Those are my concerns. And I will tell you, it you know, the first time I saw the woman, I gave her money, but that cannot continue, and I don't know how that can be remedied. The people that are getting those apartments have many problems that spill over into the community. These are my biggest concerns. I don't think that probably will stop what's going on, but I certainly am concerned.
So thank you. I appreciate your, expressing those and letting us know your thoughts on this. I don't know if, Molly or Terry have particular thoughts, or more we just sort of want to take it in.
Well, I will tell you something that I've lived in Ann Arbor since 1984. And I'm sure I've heard gunshots before. But certainly not where a whole gun was unloaded. And certainly I have never seen a police presence like that ever. And a continuing presence of law enforcement. That's a little frightening. And again, the fact that there are, we used to have our granddaughter here. We would babysit her after school, and we would check the sex offender thing, and to see 5 that appear in one building, that is concerning. It is concerning. I had one time talked to an Ann Arbor policeman, and I asked him, have you ever fired the gun? He said no. And he said, have you ever been in a situation with a gun? And yeah, I'm pretty innocent. Pretty darn innocent. And no, I have not. And no, I don't have guns. But that's frightening. It's frightening. Traveling down that street all of the time. That's a frightening thing. And believe me, I have much sympathy for the residents. I can imagine it's a difficult life, but it's my life, my grandchild's life, my property value. When does that come into play? I'm just asking these questions. I'm just asking them. Avalon is going to make money, and I'm going to lose money. Potentially. And it does change the tenure of the neighborhood. So, the tenor of the neighborhood, rather. But that's all. I just wanted to express that point of view. I don't think it'll change anything, but I appreciate you taking the time to listen.
Hi, Beverly. It's Tara from Avalon. I'm the director of property management, and I just want to take a moment to assure you that the instances that you brought up, like the gun situation, is just as concerning to us. And there was quick action taken, and those tenants no longer live on the property, and we are just as concerned about those types of things as anyone living in the area would be. We are very involved and take very fast action, and also not only with the property management aspect, we have the services to assist someone in getting housing elsewhere. So we kind of do a wraparound type of situation, even when something like that goes down, to assist in removing the impact to the community. We prioritize that. So I know that will not alleviate your fears, and having to experience that is nothing that anyone would want, but we take it really seriously.
Well, and again, I want to address that sex offender thing, because that alone, you know, she's 16 and very involved in school, so we're not babysitting. But that, as a grandma, would, as a parent, that and living next to that complex that is loaded with children, that's stunning to me. That's kind of stunning to me. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen the school bus, but there's a ton of little kids that get on and off that bus. So that was concerning. But I just appreciate the time that you have taken to listen to these concerns and can address them in any way possible. Thank you. That's and thank you for addressing them. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Other comments, thoughts, questions? I always wonder how long to pause. Just that again, my email and phone number are on here, so folks can feel free to, you know, follow up with us if you have other thoughts, questions. All right, then I think if there aren't any, maybe we'll call this meeting. But yeah, feel free to follow up. That's up here. Keep with our nice picture. So yeah, so I appreciate everybody's time for the evening. And yeah, we will continue, you know, we'll be before, as Brandon went through the schedule, there'll be more of the process going through our entitlements with Planning Commission and City Council and all that. I appreciate people taking time this evening, and I hope folks enjoy the rest of their day. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.